Twitter and Reddit are banning hashtag demand voter ID. Hello everyone, this is Mr. Obvious, bringing you the obvious. And today, on boards.4chan.org/poll. So it turns out that social media as we know it, which is leftist, is banning hashtag demand voter ID. Now for those of you unfamiliar with the subject, here's a quick fill-in. Voter ID is the concept that a legal citizen of this country should have some sort of ID that they can use to prove that they really are citizens and have a right to vote. However, the leftist establishment and Democrats do not want voter ID to exist. Why is this? Well, if you were to ask them, they say this: because voter ID would create racial suppression of voters. And then you ask them, why would it do that? Minorities are also Americans, they're citizens, they can get IDs too. Well, you know what the Democrats say? No, they wouldn't be able to figure out how to get the ID, so they wouldn't be able to vote. It's voter suppression. Holy crap, that's the most bigoted thing I've heard all day. You know what the hilarious part about that statement is? It directly implies that the left and Democrats think that some people are just too stupid to get IDs. But before we really jump into this, a word from our sponsor. I'm proud to announce that our sponsor is for veteran support and a great way to support our veterans. Here at Listening Post Air, a different approach to veteran reintegration. Listening Post LP Air is a 501c3 nonprofit private charity established to assist veterans transition from military life, regardless of the time since discharge, back into the civilian world. We are raising funds. Once acquired, we will immediately begin offering rent-free accommodations to veterans who are experiencing financial difficulties. So as you can see, this is a really cool program. So I'm going to link their website down below in the description, as well as their Facebook group. You can join this Facebook group and contact them for more information if you want. And most importantly, I'm going to leave at the tippy top a link to their donation page. They are raising funds to help veterans. So if you want to show your veterans a little bit of support, you can do so here. You can choose a one-time donation or a monthly option. Support our veterans today. So there was a study done once, and it was on Democrats and Republicans. And the study was this. They wanted to see how people on the left and people on the right talked to minorities to see if there's any differences. Here's what they found. Leftists, aka Democrats, they would talk down to minorities. They would use small words. They would talk slower. Republicans and conservatives, on the other hand, would talk to them normally like human beings. They wouldn't dumb down their language. The direct implication here is that Democrats think that minorities are dumb. Republicans do not. It turns out the left is racist and bigoted. So when they say that voter ID would create voter suppression, what they're really saying is they think minorities are too dumb to successfully apply for their IDs, which is absolutely not true. So here we have the hashtag demand voter ID being banned on Twitter and Reddit. Here's an example. Hashtag demand voter ID. Share if you take our democracy seriously. So this person on Twitter was banned for this, and they're trying to appeal. Here, Anon says, happening. Twitter and Reddit are banning hashtag demand voter ID. The social media left is banning all memes and hashtags supporting voter ID. So here's one. You appealed one tweet. Hashtag Moscow Mitch traitor. Don't let Putin interfere in 2020. Demand hashtag demand voter ID. It's the only way to ensure the Russians don't win again. So this person was banned on Twitter for this. And I want you to really think about it. The left was the one pushing the Russia collusion hoax and the Russia hacked the election hoax. If you haven't noticed, Russia is a big bad boogeyman that the left and Democrats use as a scapegoat, as a big bad guy, even though Russia is not guilty. Much of the time, surprisingly. But isn't it hilarious that they also don't support voter ID, which would prevent election interference if it ever hypothetically could or did happen? So what is the other reason behind this? Oh, it's very simple. Democrats want it to be as easy as possible to vote so that aliens can vote in elections. Yes, they actually want the undocumented to be able to vote because they will vote Democrat, and that's how they win. Democrats always cheat. They cannot win by playing fair. So here Anonymous says, I was permanently banned from Reddit for posting this meme. Don't let Putin interfere in 2020. Hashtag demand voter ID. Democrats.org. You know, this is obviously a troll, but, you know, all the same, the point is very real. Why wouldn't they support voter ID? You know, I just labeled 2 reasons, and it implies my sides. Here Annan replies, Democrats complain that every European country has healthcare for free. Doesn't complain that Europe also has mandatory ID to vote. So here's a very good post by Annan. India has 1.27 billion people. 400 million of them earn less than $1.25 per day. Yet every single voter in India has a voter ID. Democrats in the USA call that voter suppression. More like citizen suppressor. Here, an effing leaf says, private companies banning things, it's nothing. Annan replies, why is it always a leaf? So here's another Annan who got banned. Hi, blank. Your account blank has been locked for violating the Twitter rules. Specifically for violating our rules against posting misleading information about voting. You may not post content providing false information about voting or registering to vote. I wonder why they have this oddly specific rule. Could it be that they're trying to meddle in the US election? Who's the Russian now? So here what he wrote. I wonder which soy boy is going to suspend my account today. Let's try this again. Don't let Russians interfere with the election. Hashtag demand voter ID. So Twitter is at the point where they're censoring people who demand voter ID, who demand that we actually ensure that the votes are legitimate. You really gotta wonder, do these people have an alternative agenda? Of course they do. Here you can see another wonderful meme. Our voice, our struggle, our rights. We will not be silenced by voter fraud. Hashtag demand voter ID. And I completely and utterly support this meme. We should have voter IDs. No one who's not a citizen should vote. It's very simple. You know, the left is always talking about how they believe in democracy. Well, this is your chance to support democracy. So here's an interesting one. Someone tweeted at Trump, hashtag demand voter ID, and they were banned for this, violating our rules against misleading information. How's this misleading? It's not. There's nothing misleading about demanding voter ID. Furthermore, since the courts ruled that Trump's tweets are a public square, this could arguably mean that they're suppressing part of that public square because somebody tried to tweet at Trump and they took it down. So here Annan says, all those tweets look like they've been censored for trying to make hashtag demand voter ID look like a Democrat/leftist initiative. Stop foreign interference and hashtag Moscow Mitch Trader. That's liberal speak. You haven't been banned for wanting voter ID, OP. You've been banned for trying to trick weak-minded liberals into voting conservative policies. Be honest at least, brah. You know, I think Annan is full of shit. I'll be honest, I think he doesn't have 2 brain cells to spare. Annan from base Japan says, Land of the Rising Sun. This isn't a valid reason to ban someone, but here you can see they're really mad about it. On r/Democrats, it's where all the soy boys and 3-year-olds go. Republicans users flooding social media with fake Democratic memes supporting voter ID laws. So that crazy hacker 4chan has completely flooded social media with this, and now they're banning it. Here Annan says, I don't understand the issue. You require citizenship and proof of citizenship to vote in Canada. And that's the best part, really. Almost everywhere on Earth, you actually need to prove that you're a citizen to vote. America's a crazy place. We should have had voter ID a long time ago. Here Annan points that out. Every country except the US requires ID to vote. The Dems need voter fraud to win elections. Here Annan says how white liberals really view black people, and I think this is a perfect way to leave off this video.
Do you have an opinion on voter ID laws?
Yeah, they're usually pretty racist and they're bad.
I think voter ID laws are a way to perpetuate racism.
Would you go as far as say those laws are racist?
For sure.
Do you think it suppresses the African American vote?
Definitely. Because they're less likely to have state IDs.
Minority voters are less likely to have the kinds of IDs that have been described or required.
These type of people don't live in areas with easy access to DMVs or other places where they can get identification.
You can always get IDs you do over the internet. Does that also make it difficult for black people in particular?
Yeah, you have to have access to the internet. You have to be able to pay an internet service provider for certain fees.
Do you think that's harder for black people to go online?
Well, I feel like they don't have the knowledge of how it works.
A lot of people have smartphones, but you might not have data.
For most of the communities, they don't really know what is out there just because they're not aware or they're not informed. I also...
Wow, as you can plainly see, the left is wow. Wow, wow, wow. But you know what, my friends? That's merely the obvious. Well, that's all for now, folks. What do you think about this story? What do you think about the fact that hashtag demand voter ID is being suppressed online? Do you think that the memes are wrong? be sure to let me know. Now, this is just a reminder, but you can join me on Patreon or Subscribestar for as low as $1. Doing so will get you access to Fight Club, a private Discord server. Be sure to check out my affiliate link, as well as my social media links. Be sure to follow me on BitChute. And don't forget about our sponsor. It's a great way to support veterans. As always, thanks for watching. This has been Mr. Obvious, and I'll see you all next time.